How I made my daughter regret disrespecting me. I've been holding this in for a long time, but I need to get it off my chest. I'm a 43-year-old single father, and my 17-year-old daughter, who used to be my pride and joy, has turned into someone I hardly recognize. She's rude, dismissive, and completely ungrateful for everything I do. It breaks my heart because I raised her on my own and poured my whole life into making sure she grew up feeling loved and supported. Her mom left us when she was just 3 years old, and I made the decision to put her first in everything. I left my full-time job, took on remote work, and focused on being there for her every day. I made every meal, did every load of laundry, kept the house spotless, and ensured she never wanted for anything. I thought that if I just loved her enough, provided for her, and gave her stability, she'd appreciate it one day. But as she got older, something changed. She started making offhand comments about how all I did was stay home, implying I was lazy and didn't have a real job. It stung, but I tried to brush it off as typical teenage attitude. Then, things escalated. She started raising her voice, demanding things like I was some kind of servant, and it all built up until one day, after a heated argument, she shoved me. That moment shattered me. I stood there in shock, wondering how we got to this point. That night, I cried alone, thinking back over all the years I'd spent trying to make her life as comfortable as possible. I realized that I had let her take advantage of me. I had given everything and let her treat me like I was nothing. But I knew I couldn't let things keep going this way. I decided I had to show her just how much she relied on me. So, I stopped doing everything I usually did for her. No meals, no laundry, no cleaning up. I just took care of myself and left her to handle things on her own. At first she didn't seem to notice. She probably thought I was just in a mood, or being lazy like she'd been calling me. But after a few days of coming home to an empty fridge, no clean clothes, and no dinner waiting, she started to get frustrated. She'd stomp around the house grumbling, but I stayed firm. Finally, she confronted me, asking why I wasn't doing my job. I calmly replied, "If you can't respect me, you can't expect me to keep doing things for you." That response only made her angrier. She yelled, called me lazy again, and stormed off. But I wasn't going to budge. She needed to understand what it felt like to take care of herself. Over the next week, things got difficult for her. She didn't know how to cook much beyond boiling noodles, so her dinners became a rotation of cereal and instant noodles. She let her clothes pile up and ended up wearing the same outfits multiple times, clearly embarrassed at school. Then one evening, her friends came over and noticed the house wasn't the tidy home it usually was. She couldn't come up with an excuse, and I think that was when it hit her how much I actually did. A few days later, she finally came to me. No yelling this time, just looking tired and frustrated. "Dad, why aren't you doing anything?" she asked. I didn't hold back. I told her how I'd spent years making her life smooth, how hard I worked, and how she'd taken it all for granted. She looked down, mumbling, "I didn't realize it was so hard." That night, she did something I hadn't expected. She apologized. She said she was sorry for pushing me, for being disrespectful, and for not appreciating everything I did. I told her that an apology wasn't enough. Respect isn't just words, it's something you show every day. Since then, she's been different. She started doing her own laundry, helping out with meals, and even cleaning up her room and common spaces. She still has her teenage moments, but I think she's finally beginning to see me not just as a convenience, but as her father, someone who has done everything he could to give her the best life possible. And maybe, just maybe, she's starting to respect me again.